The Galactic Salvage Depot on Terminus 7 reeked of burnt metal and hydraulic fluid. Commander Vexthor, a towering Kralix warrior standing nearly 3 meters tall, surveyed his crew with 4 compound eyes that gleamed with satisfaction. His chitinous exoskeleton clicked as he moved, a sound that had preceded the deaths of countless enemies across a dozen star systems. "The human arrives today," his second-in-command Zrill announced with barely concealed amusement. The reptilian officer's forked tongue flicked out as he checked his datapad. "Captain Sarah Chen, 1.6 meters, 62 kilograms. The assembled crew, Kralix warriors, Vorgon heavy worlders, and even a crystalline Shatari engineer, erupted in laughter. Vexthor's mandibles clacked together in what passed for a smile among his species. "The Terran Confederacy sends us a child to handle military salvage operations." He gestured toward the massive wrecked battlecruiser visible through the depot's atmospheric shields. "That vessel alone masses 40,000 tons. We've been waiting 3 cycles for heavy lift equipment. Perhaps she'll use her tiny hands to disassemble it piece by piece," Zrill suggested, prompting another round of laughter. The airlock cycled with a hiss. Sarah Chen stepped through, her Earth-standard combat fatigues looking absurdly mundane next to the exotic armor and environmental suits of the alien crew. She was indeed small by galactic standards. Most species had evolved on high-gravity worlds that produced beings of enormous size and strength. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her brown eyes swept the room with calm assessment. "Commander Vexthor?" Her voice was steady, professional. "Captain Sarah Chen, Terran Salvage Corps, reporting for duty." Vexthor looked down at her from his considerable height. "Captain Chen, we were not expecting someone of your stature. Perhaps there has been an administrative error?" "No error, Commander." Sarah's expression remained neutral. "Humans may be smaller than most species, but we're well suited for salvage operations." "When can we begin?" Zrill couldn't contain himself. "Begin? Tiny human. The primary stabilizer tank from the battlecruiser needs to be moved before we can access the reactor core. It masses 37 tons. Our heavy lift drones are damaged and replacement parts won't arrive for another 10 cycles. Unless you plan to talk it into moving, we're at a standstill." Sarah walked to the viewport, studying the massive cylindrical tank that lay half buried in debris. It was easily 12 meters long and 3 meters in diameter, a component designed to stabilize a warship's gravitic systems. Moving it would require industrial equipment or several Vorgon heavy worlders working in concert. 37 tons, she repeated softly. Then she turned back to Vexthor. "Commander, with your permission, I'd like to attempt moving it." The laughter this time was louder, more derisive. Even the normally stoic Shatari engineer emitted a crystalline chiming sound that served as their species' equivalent of mockery. "Captain Chen," Vexthor said, his tone almost pitying, "I respect your courage, but—" "Permission to try, Commander?" Sarah interrupted quietly. "If I fail, you've lost nothing but 5 minutes." Vexthor's mandibles clicked in resignation. "Very well. This I must see." The entire crew followed Sarah to the depot's main floor, where the massive tank rested on the scorched ground. Some pulled out recording devices, already anticipating the entertainment value of watching a human struggle futilely with something many times her mass. Sarah approached the tank, circling it once, her trained eyes analyzing load-bearing points and structural integrity. She removed her jacket, revealing surprisingly muscular arms, and began a series of stretches that looked almost ritualistic. "Is she praying to Terran gods?" Someone whispered. "She's warming up," another replied with amusement. "As if that will help." Sarah positioned herself at one end of the tank, her boots finding purchase on the debris-strewn ground. She bent her knees, wrapped her hands around a reinforced seam in the tank's hull, and took 3 deep breaths. Then she lifted. The tank's front end rose off the ground. 1 meter. 2 meters. Sarah's face flushed red with exertion, veins standing out on her neck and forearms, but she didn't stop. Her legs drove upward with mechanical precision, her core locked, her entire body functioning as a single integrated system. The silence was absolute. 3 meters off the ground now. Sarah took 2 shuffling steps to the side, clearing the debris pile. Her breathing came in controlled bursts, each one synchronized with microscopic adjustments in her grip and stance. The tank swayed slightly, and several aliens involuntarily stepped back, suddenly aware they were watching something impossible. With a controlled grunt, Sarah lowered the tank onto a clear section of ground. Metal rang against stone. She straightened, rolled her shoulders, and turned to face the stunned crew. 37 tons, she said calmly, slightly out of breath but otherwise composed. The tank's clear of the debris field. Your engineers can access the reactor core now, Commander. Vexthor's mandibles hung open. His translator implant must have malfunctioned, he thought, because what he'd just witnessed violated every understanding of biology and physics he possessed. How? Zrill finally managed. Sarah picked up her jacket. Humans evolved on a death world, gentlemen. Earth has a gravity of 9.8 meters per second squared, higher than 80% of inhabited planets. We have dense muscle tissue, redundant cardiovascular systems, and skeletal structures reinforced with some of the strongest biological materials in known space. Our spine alone can deadlift loads 3 times our body mass without injury. She paused, letting that sink in. But it's not just physical. Humans have something we call hysterical strength, an adrenaline response that allows us to temporarily exceed our normal limitations when necessary. We've evolved to survive everything our planet threw at us: predators, diseases, climate extremes, and each other. We're persistence hunters who literally ran our prey to exhaustion across continents. The Shatari engineer approached, its crystalline form refracting light in patterns that indicated profound respect. Your species is remarkable, Captain Chen. We did not understand. Most don't, Sarah replied with a slight smile. Humans look small and weak compared to most galactic species. But we're from Earth. And on Earth, you either became strong enough to survive or you died out. We're what's left after 4 billion years of the universe's cruelest selection pressure. Commander Vexthor stepped forward, his earlier condescension replaced by something approaching awe. Captain Chen, I apologize for our assumptions. The Terran Confederacy chose their representative well. Sarah nodded graciously. No offense taken, Commander. Now shall we discuss the salvage timeline? I estimate we can have this operation completed in half the projected time. As the crew dispersed to begin work, their attitude toward the small human had fundamentally changed. They had laughed at her size, mocked her apparent weakness, and assumed her inadequacy. They would not make that mistake again, because they had learned what the galaxy was slowly discovering. Humanity might be small, but humans were anything but weak. They were survivors from a world that had tried everything to kill them. And they had not only survived but thrived, carrying that terrible strength with them to the stars. The tiny human had lifted a 37-ton tank barehanded, and in doing so, she had lifted the reputation of her entire species along with it.